All right, good evening to those of you on the East Coast. Good afternoon to to those of you on the West Coast. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, also co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. And thanks so much for joining us wherever you are watching from. If you had a chance to see the promos that we had this week, as well as if you're taking a look at the title now, you know that we have a terrific guest on tap returning to talk about none other than The Crow. But before we hop into that, I want to give a quick introduction to our guests. Of course, they do not need any introduction as they bring their talents not only as an actor but also as a voice actor. Of course, they are perhaps most well known as Winston Zeddemore in the Ghostbusters film series, also as Warden Leo Glenn in HBO's Oz, and of course in other series such as Modern Family, Grace and Frankie, LA's Finest, and of course Quantum Leap. Next month, they'll be seeing back in the newest installment of the Ghostbusters franchise, known as Frozen Empire. However, as I said, today we're going to be talking about their role as Sergeant Albrecht in The Crow, which it's wild to believe that we are now uh, coming up on the 30th anniversary, a generation, guys. It is my pleasure to welcome Ernie Hudson back to the show. Let me bring him on now. Ernie, how are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How's it going?
Good. So, first and foremost, as I said, welcome back to coming on. I appreciate you coming back to talk about yet another film in your filmography that is celebrating an incredible anniversary. Without further ado, let's just dive right in, and I, just wanted to just get into just the initial question of how did that involvement with this project come about?
Well, I met Brandon in Vancouver, maybe about 5 years before we did The Crow. He had was a good friend of Miguel Ferrara. They had grown up together, I think. And Miguel and I were shooting a movie called Broken Badges, shooting a television series. Um, and I got to know Brandon. He was up there for a couple of weeks, just sort of hanging out. And I got to know him fairly well. And when The Crow came up, I think he had suggested me, or the director wanted me to play this role, and I was first off very flattered because that doesn't happen a lot in this business. But yeah, so I read the script, loved the script. I saw Alex Price's reel. The director, is amazing reel, and I just felt that it was going to be something really, really special. So that's how I got involved with the film.
Awesome. So, in digging a little deeper, into the film, and talking about that initial process of getting involved, as you said that you had a chance to take a look at the script, and this is a film that is a very I feel like it's ahead of its time because we're very much in an age where we're getting a lot of superhero films, and we're still in the midst of that. But the superhero era, so to speak, was in a very different place in '94 than it is now in 2024. So, and speaking to that, and even the tone, um, can you talk a little further about that? Because I feel like the films that we were getting in that superhero slant, if you will, were so much so different to what we have now, and that film, The Crow, in and of itself, is so far beyond what people were getting with their superheroes at that time in terms of how dark it is, and the subject matter that it's tackling.
Yeah, I think Crow had a the Crow had a huge impact on on the genre. back then the superheroes were kind of, the Superman with the, very family friendly, bright colors, Batman, the television series with the kapow and all that kind of fun, silly stuff. But Alex Price, he's a brilliant director, and I think his vision for the film, and also James O'Barr, who created the comic, um, and the comic is really dark, and I think Alex tried to stay true to that. And when we went to shoot, it was just a whole different production, but it was it was a different twist and iconic, and it was a different kind.
Guess we lost Ernie there for a second. Let me just let him know that we just lost him. Giving us some good stuff there. 1 second, guys. Second to get back on. So while we're waiting for Ernie to hop back on, it must have just been just a glitch that kicked him out. Thank you for those of you that are here and here in the chat. Now, if you guys have any questions yourselves, feel free to ask them on your own. Okay, I think we have him back.
Okay.
Yeah, give me 1 sec. All right, Ernie. Yes. So you were in the middle of giving some awesome some awesome details about I believe you're talking about Alex's vision of his love of the comic.
Yeah, no, basically, I think Alex had a vision, and I think we were under a lot of pressure from the studio, which was Paramount at the time, to get it done, and as a result, I think a lot of shortcuts were taken that probably shouldn't have been taken, and but Alex, especially after the action, really pulled things together, and I think made it the film that it is. So.
Absolutely. So, I'm curious to know you talking about the script just at the top, and you also commenting on how Alex wanted to stay true to the source material of the '89 comic. You Was there always an intention? I want you to say I understand that there was an intention to have a very specific look of the film, of it potentially being in black and white. Was that something that you guys ever got a chance to actually do, or did Paramount immediately put the kibosh on that before you guys even got to that point? Because I understand that was something that he really wanted to uh, capture, from the source material.
Yeah, well, I think it was black and white, but certainly the mood, the feel, the raininess, that kind of depressed inner city Detroit, street thugs, gritty. Um, I think that I think that was something that he was very, very adamant about making sure was in place, and yeah, so.
Cool. Now, just as you said, there were a lot of components that happened over the course of the production and I feel it's kind of some deja vu of what we were talking about when I had you here last of talking about Leviathan and the challenges there. I understand there were a whole bunch of challenges that happened over the course of the film throughout the production. So as someone you hear about on the outside, but as someone who was in it and in the middle of all of that, are you able to shed some light of what it was like to seemingly be in a production that had a whole bunch of challenges that seemed to happen one on top of the other on top of the other. In terms of you know incidents that happen, like with the production, and accidents that happen, unfortunately. And I mean, of course, we do have the tragic accident. That's not the one I'm talking about, but I guess there were some other ones that had transpired, like with other crew members that made the production difficult, from beginning to end.
Well, I think we started out with, um, I know there were a couple or a number of accidents, which was unusual, but nothing was intentional or
Right, right.
so. You kind of you take it in and you keep moving, and we were determined to keep moving, getting it done. The fact that we were shooting nights and we didn't have the budget to parent around, because not all of it had to be at nights. Nights are very start about, I don't know, 3 in the afternoon, and you go all the way through 7 o'clock in the morning. It gets challenging after a while. And so yeah, no, it was freezing cold in North Carolina. The studio did heaters right away, which was insane. Um, Especially some of the scenes required Brandon to, be almost, you know, shirtless. But some of it, I think, people feel if we can just get this shot and move on, it's okay. But it's not okay, because you're not really protecting your people. I remember the first day on the set, I pulled my left leg, which I'd never done
Oh,
ever,
wow.
um, just because it was so cold. And I think at the hot dog stand, and I was to just start running full speed, and I just hadn't warmed up. I mean, but it was, yeah, it was a difficult, and that's really special and worthwhile. Was Brandon was always very inclusive. I think the entire cast had a way of pulling people together, and but yeah, it was an easy shoot. I think just because of hours, time, and all that. You know.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, in shaping the role and talking, more about Albert, um, there are a lot of components, of that character that I enjoy, a great deal. Outside of the snarkiness that the character has, which I enjoy, I've always enjoyed about that character. Um, I also enjoyed how capable that character was, and can you shed some light on that? In reading the script and reading this role, and seeing that on the page, or perhaps imbuing more of that. That maybe there was, if it wasn't explicitly on the page, imbuing the character with more of that, because you have this dynamic with the another detective, in the film, and it's an interesting dynamic because Albert is more capable than the detective is at doing his job. So can you share some more about that, and perhaps if it was on the page originally, or perhaps if you imbued more of that into the character.
Well, I think some of it was on the page, but as an actor, you there are things that you feel, that is just integral to the character. The fact that he cared enough about this young lady who had been killed sort of went above and beyond. Um, Not expected, not from the supervisors. A lot of people would have felt that, you shouldn't get emotionally tied in. But I think he was one of those guys who cared about his community, cared about the fires and all that stuff going down. So um, I think you had to sort of bring that to play. And at a certain point, I think a character gets frustrated that just looking at the ridiculousness of what supervision, have to say. So
Definitely, definitely. And in speaking to that dynamic that you have, with that detective, with that character, was there? Because it feels like, in watching the cut of the film, that there was more there in terms of their relationship or their history. Was there more that in a different cut that got it more in terms of their background? Because I feel like you could still kind of glean what transpired with them, but it still feels like there was more there that was left unsaid.
yeah, I think there was. I can't remember. I don't know how much more was in the script, but working with the other actor whose name I'm just going. We had actually did another movie together. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but yeah, no, I think at one point, Albrecht might have been his supervisor. Certainly might have outranked him. But Albrecht made some choices, trying to be a good guy, and it got him, put back on the beat. He got demoted. Now he has to take crap from this guy who he knows doesn't have a clue. But so their dynamic for the other character, I apologize, I can't think of his name. I wish I could. He's a wonderful actor.
I can bring him up now. Go ahead.
Very important for him to try to establish his superiority, his authority, with a guy like Albrecht who just refuses. And so what he would love to do is see Albrecht just removed. Can't quite fire him, really, really would love to. So that's their dynamic. And, and Albrecht is like, you know, life has been rough. He's a good guy, but his wife has left him. He's been demoted on the force. Just finding purpose that a lot of people, face. And so, in meeting, um, Brandon's character, it kind of gives him a purpose and goes, no, that this is why guys like that operate, is to make a difference. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I wanted to also, because as I said, I bring up the dynamic that you have there and the snarkiness that the character has, but I feel like there is a good balance of underneath all that gruff, there is a lot of heart there. Just as you said, in terms of how Albrecht relates to the fiance of with Shelley. And
Right.
so I would say two of my favorite scenes that your character has and then both of them are duo scenes. So you and another scene partner, and that is with um, you at the hot dog stand with the girl. I
Right.
enjoy a lot, and of course the scene with you and Brandon later on in the film. So I understand with the scene with you and Brandon that it was, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, that there was a lot of improvisation that took place. What was that the same that, or would you say the same happened in that scene with the hot dog stand? Because that scene, it didn't seem like something where it seemed very natural. It seemed like a conversation that people would, have at a hot dog stand, and it didn't seem like something that was scripted. So
Yeah, I think it's sort of loosely scripted, and then of course, when you're working with the actors, situation, the set, everything, things kind of come up. And if it's a good director, and Alex was, you welcome that because you want it to be natural and fluid. And so I'm not sure how scripted, how much wasn't, but you just want to get it. You want it to have integrity. You want it to be honest. And the same when it comes to my apartment. Um, I'm not sure how much was scripted, but some of it is just the reality of this
situation,
situation, this person, whatever.
right?
Where do you go with that? So I think as an actor, you want to just always, the integrity. Now, sometimes you go with a director who really just want to stick to the script or want things a certain way, and he's not flexible to received your input, and then that becomes a problem. But Alex was right there.
Absolutely. And so in looking at, as I said, there were a lot of things, that transpired over the course of production, and being able to work through that, of course, rest in peace to Brandon Lee with what had transpired over that production as well. And then to have all of that happen and, get to the point where you understand that I guess, you can also, correct me on this, that the film almost didn't even, wasn't even able to see the light of day because, Paramount was initially going to write it off because of what had transpired. So, are you, in thinking back at that, at that time, how difficult was that because how difficult was that to be in a situation like that, and still want to do right by the efforts of everyone involved with that production to ensure that, it was seen, because eventually it did, get to, Miramax, and it's weird. At the end of the day, it still made its way back to Paramount because Paramount ended up getting the minority stake in Miramax a couple of years ago, in fact. But at that time, they were going to initially just write it off.
Yeah, I think Paramount happened. That I mean, that
It had to be difficult.
I'm saying it again. Sorry.
I was going to say it had to have been difficult.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it just was rare. I mean, it doesn't happen. Films are meant to look dangerous, and but it's all well planned, and nobody gets hurt. What the hope is, and so when someone dies, that's a whole other level. And I think Paramount was like, was not wanting to be a part of it, but had to go back and finish it. We didn't have to, but I think when it happened, nobody knew what to do. I mean, everybody was stunned. So we shut down for a few weeks, and nobody did anything. Didn't know how to proceed, what had happened. I mean, just to process it. But I think when we all agreed that we wanted to finish the film more for Brandon because he had worked so hard on the movie. Almost finished. I think we only had 8 days of shooting left, and we wanted this film to be there as a reflection of him and his work. So we went back, and I think when we came back, Alex Price had just had a new resolve, and he wasn't so pushed around by the studios. Now, of course, it was a different, I think Miramax accepted. I'm not quite sure when that happened, but Alex took real control and didn't let him. He was trying to be so accommodating, I think, before. But at any rate, we went back and finished it, and it was difficult. I didn't want to go back, but because I think the movie definitely reflects his talent, and I think had he lived, you never know, but I think he would have made his mark in the industry. I think he was that good. Fortunately, it happened.
Absolutely. So, with that in mind, and we, I had you on here before, when we were, talking Leviathan. In looking back with this film, and we can do it in either, order, with us celebrating the 30th anniversary, of course. You commented on a lot of just now on a component that you're really proud of when it comes to this film. Are there other components as well, and looking back 30 years later, that you also reflect on and still um, reminisce about when it comes to this film?
Well, I think it hits me sometimes, the tragedy. I mean, I feel for that Brandon's life was cut so short because he was a really special young, aside from acting and everything else, just as a human being. I think he was really a very, very special. Something that happened. It's bad enough that it happened to somebody, but that it happened to him at a time when his life was just promised. He was going to get married right after he finished. He had just bought a home. I think he had signed a 3, 4 picture deal. Um, Life was just full of promise, and then it was cut short. So it's hard for me not to look. It's hard for me to look at it and not just kind of feel that, you know. But on the positive side, like I said, I think the movie. I think he would have been proud of the movie. I know he had done a lot of work, wasn't particularly proud of, just trying to do what all of us actually stay busy. Um, but and this to sort of step out. So yeah, and I think it had some positive impact. The safety regulations in the industry changed as a result of this. Got a lot more safe. So we had the accident recently with Alec Baldwin film he was on, but things definitely changed. Brandon's death and changed for the better, and but consider him a friend, and that never quite goes away. So
Awesome. Well, Ernie, it's always a pleasure, to reflect on your incredible filmography. Um, as always, before I let you go, tell folks, where they can find you. And yeah,
yeah, so I think on social media I'm Ernie Hudson official. I'm not really active a lot, so, yeah, that but you can definitely find me there.
all right. Well, there you guys have it. Again, I want to thank Ernie so much for hopping in here on Friday night to talk The Crow, 30th anniversary of The Crow. I'm your host, Brandon Choi, also co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there, guys, and see you soon. Bye now.
All right, Brandon, you take care.